All right, guys, happy Tuesday, and I'm so sorry I'm running late. I really should not play with your emotions like that. You guys probably thought that I got assassinated by the French president and his husband. I did not. I was genuinely running late. I had a lot of stuff going on at the home today with the kitties. But okay, I'm here, and there's a lot to cover. Justin Bieber, is continuing the purge. He has now moved to unfollow Usher, okay, his original mentor. So this is a very big story. And the reason why we should discuss this and we should not diminish what is happening, it's not celebrity drama. This is actually the fall of Babylon that we are witnessing, Hollywood Babylon, that is. Also, TikTok users have me in stitches. They are fleeing the app and joining Red Note, which is a Chinese version of TikTok and Instagram, in anticipation of the ban on their speech. And later on, I'm going to go over my viral debate with Michaela Peterson, because I saw you guys in the comments saying, are you going to talk about the debate with Michaela Peterson? Okay, we'll do it today, if that's what you want. Welcome back to Candace. All right, guys, so here's what we have going on. Justin Bieber has moved to unfollow Usher. And yes, like I said, this is a very big deal. I'm going to tell you everything that is happening right now. Now, we went over the timeline last week. Okay. Justin was signed when he was just 13 years old. And I should mention he was signed by Usher to a label that was owned jointly by both Scooter Braun and Usher. And he was considered Usher's protege. He has been described Usher as his mentor, which is why his adorable premiere music video that I showed you guys last week, entitled One Time, they had created this storyline in which a young Justin Bieber is playing video games with his friends, and Usher calls him and says that he's running late. You know, his big bro Usher calls him, and then Justin Bieber does the teenager thing and throws a party while Usher is out. So take a look at the beginning of that music video now.
Oh, oh, three! That was not luck, that was skill. Yo, I'm killing you. Yo, Usher,
JB, what's up, man?
I'm just playing video games with Ryan.
You think you can hold the house down till I get back?
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, my man.
Yo.
And that's how it starts. And then all of a sudden he has a party. And like I said, you can imagine for a 13-year-old kid, I think he's 14 in the video, what a big deal. You're with Usher, one of the princes of R&B, and now he's your mentor, and you're doing what you love, you're singing songs, and their long relationship has been well documented throughout the media. Most notably, when Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber got married back in 2019, Usher was on the very short list of invites. So I'm showing you this photo of Usher at Justin Bieber's wedding. You see the date there, September 30th, 2019, the Biebers. He's smiling, he's looking happy. So that means their relationship was great all the way up until 2019. We know that. And by the way, Usher wasn't the only person that was there. So was Scooter Braun. There he is with his ex-wife in the booth with Hailey. They were super close, the four of them. Then something happened, right? Something happened in the background, and people started noticing some things last year. In 2024, you guys will remember that Usher was tapped to perform at the Super Bowl. And people therefore assumed, because usually when you are tapped to perform the Super Bowl, you bring in all your hits, you call up all your homies. There's all of these guest surprises of people jumping on stage, and it's a trip down memory lane. So everyone was really hyped and assuming that Justin Bieber would be on the stage with him, especially because Justin Bieber went to this Super Bowl. And also because Justin Bieber had just performed earlier that same month at the NHL All-Star Game. So the signs were there. But then news began breaking that actually, no, Justin Bieber had snubbed him, that he had turned down Usher. People were wondering if this was true or just, usual rumor mill in the media. But then Usher confirmed it on The Breakfast Club. Kind of seemed like he was trying to make it seem like it wasn't a big deal, that here I am, the mentor, and he turned me down. Here is what Usher said explaining that on The Breakfast Club.
Why didn't things work out with Justin Bieber?
You know what? They did work out with Justin. I honored and recognized that my brother, I think that it might have been the fact that he was just, wanting to tell a different story right now. And I understand that. But we did have a brief conversation, and we're gonna do something else in the future. But there's no love lost or anything like that.
Seems like he's struggling to find words there, doesn't it? He's saying, I think that maybe he's just trying to write a different story. What does that mean? I think that. You've been his mentor for decades. Shouldn't you know that? Almost decades, right? Shouldn't you know the reason why he didn't want to perform with you? Saying that he's trying to write a different story. What does that mean? Clearly, Justin Bieber was already pulling back, is what it means. And it's interesting now to speak about Usher Raymond by himself. Who exactly is Usher Raymond? What was his story? Well, I'll tell you, it isn't unlike Justin Bieber's story in the manner in which he too was initiated into the Hollywood industry. Usher Raymond was signed by L.A. Reid, none other than L.A. Reid, when he was just 13 years old. Kind of oddly, the story goes that Bobby Brown's bodyguard, a guy named A.J. Alexander, discovered Usher at an audition in Atlanta and then started just bringing him around, just everywhere, having him tag along. And then a rep from L.A. Reid's label saw him perform at Star Search. You guys maybe vaguely remember this. If you've ever seen like an old documentary of like Christina Aguilera or Britney Spears, like all of them did Star Search at some point. It was kind of the talent show, and it was a big deal if you got on it. And after an A&R rep from L.A. Reid's label saw him, he brought him to the top boss, that being L.A. Reid. And the rest was history. Usher got signed, 13 years old. And then he first appeared in a video that was entitled Call Me Mac, a song that was written by Usher himself, which was released in 1993 as the soundtrack, one of the soundtracks rather, for the film Poetic Justice. So I'm going to show you just a little small clip of his Call Me Mac premiere video. I'm just disturbed by that line. I may be young, but I got a whole lot of man in me within like gyrating his hips. I don't know if just my entire perspective of all of this has changed now that I'm a mother and I'm in my 30s. This stuff when I saw when I was young, I was like, so cool. It's so cool. Anyways, what went along with that is he released his first album a year later in 1994. He was just 15 years old, but he really became a household name with his sophomore album, My Way. This was stuff that was blaring in my household when I was young, which was released in 1997. And listen, he just became a very big deal in the R&B world. There's no question about it. And so now we are presented with this picture of Justin Bieber unfollowing him. We can probably assume that there was some friction, which was established in 2024, which made him not want to perform with him in 2000 at the Super Bowl. And we have to ask ourselves, what was that friction about? And of course, many people, I believe, are accurately assuming that this has something to do, one element has to do with the Diddy lawsuit. A lot of revelations were made in the Diddy lawsuit. So I'm going to start this by saying allegedly. Okay, obviously, he has not yet been convicted of everything, but I knew that he was going to get arrested because after reading through this lawsuit, there were just so many pictures, way too many descriptions. He had hours of video footage proving his claims. I'm referring to the person who initially filed this, Rodney Lil Rod, a producer who went into great detail, a laborious effort to basically describe almost a homosexual ring in which people were being drugged at various Diddy parties. But he describes how essentially him, being a young producer, they tried to initiate him into homosexuality. And I'm going to read this directly from a lawsuit. It says, quote, Mr. Combs, that's Diddy, used access to Stevie J and his knowledge that the producer, Mr. Jones, admired Stevie J to groom and enticed Mr. Jones to engage in homosexuality. Mr. Combs went so far as to share a video of Stevie J. I am now redacting this so that we stay YouTube safe. It is a graphic video. This was done to ease Mr. Jones's, again, that's the producer, anxiety concerning homosexual acts. According to Mr. Combs, quote, this is a normal practice in the music industry. Look, even Stevie J is doing it, he said as he showed him this video. Mr. Combs informed Mr. Jones that he had engaged in sexual intercourse with rapper, redacted, R&B singer Redacted, and Stevie J. So that is Diddy saying, these are these other artists that I have slept with. This is totally normal for you to do this. It's okay. Lighten up. This is going to be totally fine. Watch this footage that I have everybody else doing. This is just what we do in the industry. But then there's a footnote in the filing, right? Because the names are redacted. And in the footnote, it reads that regarding the R&B singer that Diddy allegedly slept with, he performed at the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency. So this let people know that very clearly the name that was redacted had to have been Usher, because it was Usher who recently performed at the Super Bowl, and it was Usher at the time of this filing who had just had a very successful Vegas residency. And we also knew that Usher and Diddy themselves had a relationship, a long relationship. Now, why is this important? It's important because we know that Usher, when he was very young, was handed over to Diddy. He was literally handed over to Diddy to live with him for a short period of time. Don't take my word for it. You can listen to Usher in his own words discussing that time period in his life with none other than Howard Stern. Take a listen.
I moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you
New
over
York
to something
City.
called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn some...
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's what it
Camp.
was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In
to...
the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I
Come
mean,
on.
but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you
I
seeing?
went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild. It was,
So
it was
nobody
crazy.
tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't
and
say that.
Okay.
I didn't
But
say
you
that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people
all
are
of
hanging
these-
around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans.
And your parents
Jodeci,
were
Mary J.
okay?
Blige. They didn't know nothing about this shit.
Oh.
I was having a good time. You know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 in the morning with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem.
Yeah.
I had like,
What
like
a
a living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
Hell no.
See?
The answer at the end. You're a dad now. Would you ever send him to Puffy camp? No. Of course I would not do that. The things that you witnessed, you staying up until 4 a.m. at these Diddy parties. And they're laughing. I love that. It makes it's even more special because it's Howard Stern that's contributing to this conversation. And obviously Howard Stern is completely mental about Trump, about horrible Trump is this and that. And he's laughing about Diddy parties and learning that there's a 13-year-old kid there witnessing what he describes as orgies. Like Howard Stern said, there was orgies. Were you there? Did you see this? And they're laughing at this, right? Usher certainly knew what went down at Diddy parties is the point that I'm making, okay? All of Hollywood knew what went down at Diddy parties. We could show you clip after clip after clip of them all mocking and laughing about everything that happened at Diddy's place. So when Usher signed and became a quote unquote mentor to Justin Bieber, why didn't he mentor him against going to Diddy's house? Wouldn't that be a nice thing for your mentor and your friend to do? Why is it beginning to feel like everything that Kanye West told us about Hollywood might be true? That you have these young, talented people who are essentially being adopted and initiated when they are vulnerable into a very dark and demonic cult, okay? Why is it beginning to feel like once they age and they're a part of it, they then find someone young and they get them initiated into it? They find the talent and they initiate them into this sort of a cult. Now, I will admit, as a friend of Ye, that I thought he was completely paranoid and crazy when he kept telling me that everyone around him was an op. He used to say that. He used to say, this person's an op, this person's an op, this person's an op. Like, like as if he was accusing them all of being feds. He even at one point questioned me when I was asking him questions and everything was coming down. He's like, are you an op? I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know anybody in Hollywood. Obviously, I'm not an op. And I thought these were just, again, paranoid delusions. But now I have a very different perspective on this. I have an understanding of what Kanye went through to get out, right? To basically sell everything, give his designs, end his marriage. Because when you leave a cult, of course, it's not easy. They try to destroy you. They try to Sigmund Freud you. They try to gaslight you. They try to call you crazy, express concern, fake friends, even put pressure on your family. Oh man, you just need some rest. You're just going crazy. Hey, you know what? I'm your friend. I've always been your friend. We don't want this to happen to you. And then when you say, no, I'm done with this, then come all of the headlines. Then come the headlines about Hailey Bieber spending all of Justin's money. Why did he sell his catalog? Is he going to go broke? Friends are concerned. They're concerned because he's unfollowing people. Oh my God, he must be having a mental breakdown. Look, guys, it is clear that Justin Bieber wants out. He probably can't even speak out because of incredibly complicated contracts. You know who also warned about that? A certain Mr. Kanye West. Take a listen.
We can't just say, oh, it's okay for people to like super complicate deals and to collude on deals and to not look at us as human beings, as artists and athletes and actors, that we have to be willing to like stand up for that to be able to change something. And we need to come together as a society to be the first civilization that actually became civil.
But despite these super complicated contracts, people not being able to speak out, people being fearful, people being threatened, people being told and gaslit in the media when they're just saying something, trying to say that something bad happened to me, that I am being treated badly. Despite this, we are seeing that people are brave and people are learning ways to work around them. Young artists are somehow working around these super complicated deals. I mean, saying a lot with something as simple as an unfollow. So that is what Brett Cooper did, by the way, recently. Like everyone's speculating, a couple of unfollows will let you know what's really going on. Maybe not fully, but kind of giving you an idea. And to see Justin Bieber doing this, he is signaling hard right now that things behind the scenes are not okay. Thus far, he has unfollowed Scooter Braun, his former manager, who he fired in 2022. He's unfollowed Allison Kay, his former manager from SB Projects. He's unfollowed Kenny Hamilton, who was his former bodyguard, which I believe Justin Bieber's mom wrote in her first book that Kenny Hamilton came from, was a very close friend of Scooter Braun. And so that's how he became his bodyguard. Ryan Good, who was the singer's former swag coach. He's been around since 2009. He was even the best man at Justin's wedding. Unfollowed. A Pooh Bear, who's some songwriter and producer that he worked with on his albums, unfollowed. And you know what I can say after all of this? Justin Bieber, he's going to be absolutely fine. He is going to be so fine. I'm telling you guys, pray for him. He's obviously very strong right now to be going through this, to not have his voice, despite giving his voice as his talent for such a long time, from the time that he was a kid, the time that he was 13 years old. But he's going to be okay because first and foremost, he has faith. Okay. He also now has a son, which I believe is motivating this. I think the birth of Jack Blues Bieber was the beginning of the end of Justin Bieber's time in Hollywood Babylon. It is the power of family, and we are witnessing the power of faith. And to that, I say, Justin Bieber, keep going. The world is behind you. We cannot wait until you find your voice again. Christ is King. All right, guys, going to throw it to PreBorn. You guys know January is considered Sanctity of Life Month. It's a time that we honor the over 66 million babies whose lives have been tragically ended through abortion. Sadly, since Roe was overturned, babies' lives are at an even greater risk because of the abortion pill, which accounts for over 60% of all abortions now, which makes this tragedy available 24/7. But in the midst of all this darkness, there is a light that shines. PreBorn has rescued over 300,000 babies from abortion. On average, they rescue over 200 babies a day, because when a woman is considering abortion, but she hears that baby's heartbeat and sees that baby on an ultrasound, that baby's chance at life doubles. PreBorn needs our help. For just $28, which is the cost of dinner, really, you can sponsor an ultrasound to introduce a mother to her baby for the first time, and 100% of your donation will go towards saving babies. So to donate, you just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. Again, that's pound 250 baby, or donate securely at preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. All right. I'm a Gen Z stan, I think. I got to say it. I love Gen Z right now. They're just feisty. They're very feisty right now. And to see the way they are reacting to people trying to censor their speech, this is incredible. This is amazing. And you're going to have to park aside your feelings about China. Obviously, I agree with the fact that China is a threat, but I also kind of think America and our deep state and the CIA is the bigger threat. The homeland threat seems a little bit bigger, the domestic threat, than the foreign threat at this moment. Okay, so what am I speaking about? So there is, let me just show you this headline on NBC. Chinese TikTok alternative Red Note tops app charts ahead of potential TikTok ban. Okay. So just to be clear, the #1 most downloaded app right now in the App Store is Red Note. Red Note. It's in Mandarin. They can't even read it, and they're all downloading it. So I'm going to give you the backstory of the TikTok ban. Initially, when Trump got into office, he essentially was very tough on China. And in 2020, he said, we've got to do something about China. They're stealing all of our data. You know, he was doing the America first. We're also going to be tough on tariffs, et cetera, et cetera. And in August of 2020, he tried to ban TikTok via executive order. And it didn't work. There was tons of resistance, people saying that it would be a violation of free speech. This can't happen, blah, 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 blah. Then, of course, October 7th happened, and TikTok was incredibly pro-Palestine, okay, to the point that they began censoring the word Palestine, and the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, which is really just the Anti-Free Speech League, and the Smear and the Slander League, decided that they needed to now step in. Forget you thinking your president has power. We, the ADL, our lobby, AIPAC, we're going to get this done now because we don't like that Gen Z is anti-Israel. They're not allowed to have those thoughts. So incredibly, if you don't remember this, Jonathan Greenblatt, who is the head of the ADL, got caught on audio discussing how Gen Z was problematic and they needed to do something immediately. So this is in March of last year. Listen to what he says.
But I also want to point out that we have a major generational problem. All the polling I've seen, ADL's polling, ICC's polling, independent polling, suggests this is not a left-right gap, folks. The issue in the United States of support for Israel is not left and right. It is young and old. And the numbers of young people who think that Hamas's, massacre was justified is shockingly and terrifyingly high. And so we really have a TikTok problem, a Gen Z problem, that our community needs to put the same brains that gave us Taglit, the same brains that gave us all these other amazing innovations, need to put our energy toward this, like, fast. Because again, like, we've been chasing this left-right divide. It's the wrong game.
And he's not lying. It was very clear. I think something like 90% of the posts were pro-Palestinian, and it was because they were able to see videos for the first time. It's the first generation that can actually see videos, not just read about it in the New York Times or read about it in the Guardian. They are actually able to see what is happening in Gaza, and they firmly decided that we are not going to support this. And so the ADL got involved. Israel counted its win and said, we have gotten a handle on, I showed you on a prior episode, we've gotten a handle now on TikTok and on Instagram. And then the kids got smart and started using watermelons instead of, because they couldn't say Palestine or get any views and things were getting banned, they started using watermelon signs, okay? But then very quickly, Congress passed an act. Forget the president in 2020. They were like, oh, yes, no, TikTok must immediately be banned. Now we got to get rid of this or it must sell. And that date is now coming up. And so the TikTokers are going, we are not with this. You are not going to censor our speech. We are not okay with you selling it to somebody that's going to censor our speech. And so what they have started doing is downloading Red Note. And basically, this is just China's TikTok. And it's really funny to just look through what they are saying here, because there is something, and speaking to this generational divide, which is, he's correct, the younger kids don't really care when you tell them that their data is being stolen, because basically they assume that their data is being stolen one way or the other. Is it from the CIA? It's from this person. They don't have trust in our government, because our government has done really crappy things as well. And they also can't afford groceries. So yeah, whether or not China is stealing their data isn't a priority in their lives. And so I'm going to show you just a couple of these TikToks of them pretty much just mocking signing up for this app and laughing at the government, thinking that it's going to stop them. This is one person. It says, TikTok, me arriving to China.
Hello? Haro? Hibachi Benihana Teriyaki.
Nagasaki, Okinawa, Hokkaido, Yokohama.
Karate, Judo, Sumo, Samurai.
Nissan, Honda, Mitsubishi, Subaru.
Okay, we can get out of this one. So that's just a guy, like, this is me arriving to China on January 19th when this gets banned. Here is another TikToker who is mocking the fact that he is Asian, basically saying it is our honor to spy on you. Take a listen.
Hello guys, this is your Chinese spy speaking. I want to post this video before it's too late. I guess we are not going to see each other again in the future. That's why I have something to say. It is a great honor to spy on you for the last few years. I wish you all have a great life in the future. Now is something personal. Laura from California, you shouldn't drink that much Coca-Cola. It is bad for your health. And also Peter from New York, you mama loves you. You shouldn't treat her like that, okay? And Stephanie from Texas, don't send your nude picture to the guy called Marvin. He's a boy. He's talking to other girls as well. Nice deeds, by the way. I think that's all I have to say. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.
So it's just, people are just mocking this, like, oh, I guess we're not going to inspire you here. I'm very sorry. And also, here's another TikTok, just giving you the general sentiment and the mood on TikTok right now. It says the U.S. government banning TikTok to protect everyone's data, but now everyone's going to another Chinese app and giving it for free. Americans really don't give an F. And he's laughing, and the comments under this are really funny. Here are some of the comments. I'm sorry, I do find this to be absolutely hilarious. We're going to read you some of these comments. This person, accepting terms and conditions in Mandarin. Next comment. Ask app not to track. Nah, that's okay, I don't mind. Next comment, this generation is not serious. Agreed. I totally agreed. Next comment, we too poor to give an F at this point, which is strangely very relatable. That's what I'm saying. It's like you're sitting here trying to explain to them in the context, which again, this comes down to them being anti-Israel. Like, don't believe anything else the media tries to spin to you, or else they would have done it when Trump was president. But they can't afford groceries. You're not going to make Gen Z think that they should care about China spying on them, is the point this person's making. Here's the next person. This is so great. My data, my choice. That is just brilliant. Absolutely hilarious. This person writes, the reverse psychology the U.S. government did not see coming. It is going to present a problem for them for sure. And this comment, we're like teenagers who got grounded but snuck out the window to go to the party anyways. Just, come on. Gen Z is funny, and it's true. They're going to be playing whack-a-mole for a very long time because this is America, okay? We do not like speech censorship. Okay, you're not going to justify it or try to pretend it's by anything else. We heard Jonathan Greenblatt on the tapes. We saw how quickly it then got passed. And I get that you're trying to dress it up as, oh, now when Trump said it, we didn't recognize it as a problem, but now we recognize it as a problem. People are not stupid. Okay, they want to enjoy TikToks of people speaking about various issues, people gardening, whatever it is that helps them ease their minds off of the fact that everything seems to be falling apart around them. So I'm with you, Gen Z. I like it. I'm going to join. There, I'm going to join, whatever. All right, guys, moving on, reminding you about Tax Network USA, because I know there's a lot of people that are overwhelmed with back taxes or unfiled returns. And you can get ready because since COVID relief ended, the IRS hired 20,000 new enforcement agents proposing millions of pay-up notices for 2025. So if you're worried about the IRS collection tactics, Tax Network USA is there. So you do not have to face these guys alone. Tax Network USA is the nation's premier tax relief firm and has negotiated over $1 billion in tax relief for clients. Their services include penalty forgiveness, hardship programs where you might not even have to repay until your tax debt expires, and offer in compromise solutions for lump sum payments. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their experts stand ready to assist you. Even if you're behind on taxes due to missing personal or business records, Tax Network USA can guide you through the process. Dealing with the IRS without professional help is extremely risky. So protect your financial security with guidance from Tax Network USA. Schedule a complimentary consultation. You can call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Candace. Do not let the IRS's aggressive tactics control your life. Empower yourself with Tax Network USA. Visit tnusa.com/Candace today. Okay, tons of you guys in the chat were saying, Candace, you're going to cover your viral debate with Michaela Peterson. And I actually hadn't even thought to cover it. Yeah, I had a debate. I didn't realize I had gotten so many views, had received so many views, pardon. And it was partially because, I don't know, I had like Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte breathing down my neck. So I had bigger fish to fry. But just to give you guys, if you have not seen it on Piers Morgan's YouTube channel, you can pivot over and you can watch it. The reviews were very favorable. So I appreciate all of you guys watching it. And to give you the backstory of why we were debating at all, again, this is from January 10th. It was pretty much a spillover from a little Twitter tiff we had. It wasn't exactly a tiff, but like, you know, girls, a little catty, a little bit. And it was regarding the H-1B1 visas. Michaela tweeted something that I was not happy about. She had tweeted this about the visas, of people saying that we needed to put a limit and completely get rid of this program because it's been corrupted. She wrote, why did the woke right pretend that it was illegal immigration that they were against when it turned out it was immigration in general? At least be honest about it. If there's assimilation into the culture and legal immigration, what is the problem other than skin color? And she went on to say that the issue was that people didn't want brown people. She actually wrote brown people in the country. And I took issue to that because I just find it offensive. I found it offensive that somebody who's not even a U.S. citizen who is here on a visa would accuse Americans of being racist rather than listening to Americans as to why this program and how this program has impacted their lives. So we have a debate, and I will show you what Michaela had to say on the topic on Piers Morgan. Take a listen.
So I don't know, Candace, if you're seeing what I'm seeing on X, but when I saw the H-1B debate going around, mostly what I saw was racism against Indians specifically. And I'm not saying there isn't a problem with the visa issue in the States in general. Getting top talent here is very difficult. Like I had a very difficult time getting in, and I'm married to an American, and it was long and annoying, and they don't have a proper way to test people. So there's plenty of flaws to talk about. But I think right before the inauguration, having conservatives argue like amongst ourselves about an H-1B visa issue when we have an open border is silly, especially when it does kind of dredge up what I called the woke right on X. And I know you've scoffed at the term the woke right, but it encompasses these people that are focused on anti-Semitism, Jews, and they're pro-America, but their idea of America is this white America, similar to, I guess, what everyone's been arguing about for the last 200 years whenever anybody new comes into the country. And I do think it has to do with race. And I think you can see that from comments on Twitter.
So I essentially answered her back and said that one of the ways in which I hate that people debate is rather than debating what you are saying, they basically look for a commenter on Twitter, an anonymous account that says something racist, and they go, see, everyone who has this perspective is racist. This is like the Seth Dillon way of arguing on X, where he just like will find a random Groyper account and he's like, well, look, these people don't like Jews, and so that means that if you don't think Palestinians should be bombed, you don't like Jews. Like, okay, guys, can we argue as people? It's the internet. Welcome to the internet. People say racist things every second of every day, and I said that to her. I said, since the moment I made my account, somebody has dropped the N-word on me online, left and right. Okay, it's just a part of the territory. We have to have a thicker skin, and we have to accept that like random internet trolls is not real life, and that the substance of this debate was definitely not over the fact that people were fearful of having brown people in the country. I said to her, I am brown as well. So, and obviously I don't have an issue with Vivek Ramaswamy because I stumped for him when he was running. I went up to Iowa and got on the ground with him because I think he's remarkably talented. I just think him and Elon have it wrong on H-1B1 visas. And so we had that dialogue, and it was a respectful dialogue. And then the conversation completely turned because she brought up her father. And I think people found this to be very interesting. And I'm very curious to see what you guys thought about it. Essentially, I'll just give you the background here. So Michaela, it was very obvious that she had some bad feelings towards me because I had covered her father on one episode of this podcast because he was trolling. He was trending because of some tweets that he had written, which seemed out of character for Jordan Peterson. Okay, I did not create this trend. I did not contribute to this trend, but I wanted to cover this because this is Dr. Jordan Peterson. And truly, I would say in 2018, there had never been a person that had so much influence in American politics. Like I have never seen someone get bigger than Dr. Jordan Peterson was in 2018 across the world. By the way, I shouldn't say American politics, across the world. This guy was selling out stadiums from here to like Korea, based off of his book. I can't remember how many rules are. I think 7. There might be 9. Don't take my word for it. I'm blanking on it. I'm pregnant. Leave me alone. Anyways, the point is that something seemed to have changed post October 7th, and people weren't able to pick up what it was because first, you'll remember on October 7th, he tweeted like bomb all of them. We're going to get to those tweets, but these were some of the tweets that created the trend. Okay. Here's one Jordan Peterson tweet. Hey, and it's also written in sonnet form. Hey, new Nazi troll rats anonymously trumpeting your anti-Semitism doesn't rescue you from your mother's basement or from the demon of resentment or make you attractive to the women who take one look at you and shudder, and rightly bloody so. You are despicable bottom rung cowards using Gaza, Hamas as camouflage for your detestable cluster B psychopathy, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and of course, sadism. I've got your number, you pathetic tantrum toddlers. You don't even have the courage of genuine bullies. You Cheeto dust. I didn't expect that. You Cheeto dust covered, sweat stained white T-shirt. This is actually very funny. I'm sorry, I didn't pre-read this, and I'm rereading it again and forgetting, but it was funny. Okay, it's out of character for Jordan Peterson, is what I'm saying here. Here's another one. He got into a spat with one of these people that presumably he was tweeting about, and he referred to Nick Fuentes as a rat. You, Nick Fuentes, really are a psychopathic rat. Okay, you could say, by the way, this is opinion. Like this doesn't bother me on X. There's so much, like I said, worse stuff on X that people say to me all the time. It's not a big deal, but he said this. It was just out of character for a doctor who preaches calm in chaotic environments. And here's another tweet, by the way, pulling it out of the Gaza debate. It was happening quite often. This was, I think, to a reporter. Here it is. Tell them to go F themselves. 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 Repeat until paragraph length or lose science along with it. Here's another one of the tweets. F you, seriously, never, never again, you bloody pathetic fear-mongering pharma fascist sills. The faster you disappear at CNN, the better. So that's just tweeted at CNN. By the way, I don't disagree with the sentiment. I don't like CNN, but I also wouldn't tweet at them like this. And I especially wouldn't tweet at them like this when, again, your brand is calm. So a trend had been established. I did a video speaking about this and speaking about how a lot of people who followed him, and this is just a reality. A lot of people who followed him and hung on his every word kind of fell away from that. And he definitely, definitively, objectively is not as big today as he was in 2018. That's fine. Time changes, people change, season changes, conflicts change. But you can understand that Michaela took personal offense because as a part of that piece, I spoke about how people began to wonder about him. Like if the trust, I guess, if you want to say, the public trust was sort of fractured a bit when we learned that he had suffered with addiction. I said this on my show, my previous show. And when he came back, it didn't seem like he had fully owned that. And she took great offense to this, as you would imagine, because she's his daughter. So it's silly to expect her to be objective on the matter when it's her daughter. When it's his daughter, I would not be objective if somebody was speaking about my father, my husband, my son, whatever it is. So I grant her that. And she then said this on Piers Morgan. Take a listen.
You do know that 1/5 of Americans are on psych meds, right? Are you aware of the statistics?
Yes.
Are those all people with
Correct.
addictions? Like, is that your view of people on psych meds just in general?
No, your father spoke out about his benzo addiction, so I don't understand why you're asking me a question about people that take psych meds.
Benzo dependence. Maybe you don't know anything about this. If you're on a psych med long term, you form a dependence on it, and it's very difficult to get off of. They're starting to teach this in medical school. It's a disaster because so many Americans are on psych meds. So yeah, he suffered from psych med withdrawal because they make you form a dependence on it, especially long term. Now, calling it an addiction as if he was on heroin or something is manipulative, you know? So when we talked about it and we were very honest about what was going on, part of it was to spread awareness that 1/5 of Americans are on medications that cause dependence and don't know it. It's horrible. People die because of it. So I think laughing about it is like, it's not cool.
I certainly don't think I laughed at it. I think benzo dependence is pretty much a euphemism for an addiction. And if you know anything about my work and me being super crunchy and speaking about why I think medicines are bad because they do create dependencies, which then yield people going onto the streets for something stronger. I mean, the benzo addiction becomes a heroin addiction because the doctor won't write you the prescription anymore. So you turn to the streets for something stronger because your body is dependent on it. I'm sorry that, again, you are offended by this conversation simply because it is your father. I don't think I've been offensive in my language. And if you find it to be manipulative, that think that it impacted the way that men saw him when they publicly were saying that on Twitter. We covered the tweets that people were writing on that day about how, they used to idolize him. They're so grateful for his book, but this is not the person that they knew. Again, I'm sorry you're offended by that, but it's just the reality of what happened. And I can tell this is a sensitive topic for you, but it is what it is, Michaela. I don't know what to say. I don't think anybody's laughed at it. I think it's a good conversation to be had, and no one is more anti-Big Pharma than me. I mean, I have an entire series against Big Pharma, so.
I don't even know where to start with that. Benzo addicts will go to the street for heroin. We were trying to spread awareness about psych med withdrawal, and we were very honest about what everybody was going through. I went through psych med withdrawal myself. It was one of the worst experiences in my life. It kills people, causes akathisia, which makes people suicidal. It's a terrible side effect. So that's what we were talking about. Now, if you want to twist that a little bit and be like, he's losing his audience because he's an addict, I don't really know what to say.
So I watched this back, and when it was happening, I had the exact same thing. I just thought in my head, like, I'm not rich enough for this, I think. I grew up with addicts, and I know now everyone's got fancy terms for everything, and there's a certain amount of money you can have in your savings where suddenly addiction is now called a dependency. I literally went, what are you saying? I don't understand this. And so to give her credit, I looked it up, and she said, now they're teaching there's a difference between addiction and dependence. And here is the description on Medical News Today of this difference. It reads, the terms addiction and dependence can seem similar, but they are different. Dependence occurs when the body physically relies on a drug. Addiction involves changes in behavior. Now, I would imagine that if your body is physically relying on a drug, it would also spell out some changes in your behavior. So, like I said, I just grew up with old-fashioned addicts, okay? I'm sure got a couple uncles would have loved this term, right? My uncle, it feels pompous to me. Am I wrong to say that? It feels like you have to have enough money to never admit a fault, and then you can kind of go, okay, this is a doctor, this is a psychologist. You know what these drugs do, okay? So this wasn't, and literally the entire opioid epidemic that we have of people going to the streets and getting these drugs, the people that we call addicts, was created by Big Pharma. Right? The classy people who get the prescriptions. So I don't like it. I just don't like it because it feels like we're too classy, or we're too, whatever the correct word would be. Like, it's very high flying. Like, we're too high flying to lower ourselves and to admit that this is, and it should have been, a compelling story, because it's not ever funny for people to have. And by the way, I think Jordan Peterson used a different term than her. He said substance use disorder. Okay. All of it is something that we can all relate to, no matter what your walk of life is, okay? Like I said, I just had a regular old addict, still have regular old addicts in my family, but I don't want to give them an excuse, I guess, of thinking that, well, this is a little bit different, because I think if two people were talking on the street and one of the person was a good old-fashioned addict, crackhead, and one said, well, I'm not an addict. My body depends on it. And I feel like the crackhead would be like, yeah, me too. Same. My body depends on crack. I don't know how the conversation would go, but I think the braver thing to do is to, not create a hierarchy of substance use disorder, and to say everybody's family, my own included, have been touched with this. And Big Pharma is the reason for it in many ways. They have created these drugs that are creating this sort of an epidemic. And instead we get like medical segregation, I guess. So that was how I felt. And I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. If it's a slight difference, and now it's different because they're teaching this, new science, and they're realizing that, the person on the street that's addicted to alcohol, I guess now you could say, since it's a physical dependency, because they would literally die at a certain point if they don't have that drink in the morning, and you have to be very careful. Now you don't call them addicts anymore. We call them people that have substance use disorder. I don't know. I'm not fancy enough. I'll let you know when I get rich enough for that, but it's not for me, is what I would say. Anyway, so Michaela, I have no beef with her at all. I really don't. We just disagree on certain points, and I actually appreciated that we were able to do so civilly. And I like I said then, and like I've said before, I understand when it's your family, it's different. No one should ask her to be objective on the matter. You should always be ride or die for your family members. So I totally get the sentiment, and I'm glad we were able to have a discussion. And I'm grateful that so many people enjoyed the discussion. But yeah, I'm going to enjoy your comments on that. All right, guys, before we get into those comments, let me remind you about American Financing. Since the Fed has dropped interest rates, you should call my friends at American Financing today. Now is the perfect time to consolidate debt and reduce your monthly expenses. I know there's a lot of hardworking Americans that have been forced to use credit cards because of the ridiculous prices for groceries, power, and even childcare. Those people are probably joining Red Note. I assume the debt can get out of hand with credit card rates being so high. However, with mortgage rates dropping, now is the time to wipe that debt out. American Financing is helping homeowners just like you save over $800 a month on average. They're even closing some in as fast as 10 days. And if you start today, you may delay 2 mortgage payments. There are no upfront fees to find out how much you can save. So call American Financing today at 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. That is americanfinancing.net/Owens. Ooh, let's see what you guys are saying about Bieber and everything going on today. TikTok, are you joining Red Note? I may have already joined Red Note. I'm not so scared about data anymore. I don't know. I think the biggest threat is the CIA. Okay, Jasmine wrote, I am part of the Gen Z problem. That's shots fired, Jonathan Greenblatt. America first. Yeah, I'm with you guys. This millennial is with you guys. I'm so sick of people viewing us as a problem for having our own ideas. Chicago conservative writes, Candace, I hear you about Israel having too much power in the U.S., and I agree, but I cannot justify being on the same side as crazy college students, Marxist professors to support Palestine. I need more information, and you should have a right to that information, by the way. That is the point. The conflation and pretending that every single person who has an issue with like 18,000 kids being bombed and what we're seeing on our X page supports Hamas or agrees that people should have been murdered, other innocent people should have been murdered on the other side of that border in Israel is a nonsense. It's so dishonest. The rhetoric is so dishonest. And you see the same stuff, by the way, during BLM. Like you always try to find the one white person in the MAGA crowd who's saying something racist, and they're like, look, all of MAGA are racist. Well, all you have to do is find one person and train your camera on that and go, this is what these people believe. And of course, that's not what MAGA believes. That's not at all what MAGA believes. Like, look, they're marching. The white supremacists are marching. These are Trump supporters. They are doing the same thing with the Hamas storyline, training the cameras on the one person who's like, yeah, murder, all Jews should die. Of course, no one, the majority of rational human beings do not support that. That's an atrocious ideology. And they go, oh, every person who has an issue with all of the Palestinians dying believes is a Hamas supporter. You just can't do that. It's not genuine. It's not authentic. And in fact, it's disingenuous. And I think people are catching up to that. Sarah writes, I think she's just quoting me. Thank you, Michaela. That was epic. Alaska Dog Lady writes, I'm the mom of 2 Gen Z kids. I took them berry picking and the berries weren't good. My daughter said, I bet the government killed them, so we have to buy their poison berries. They are based. Yes, so funny. I was just having a conversation with a girlfriend and she was talking about how we were talking about mandarin and oranges and they taste like water now, and every fruit just doesn't taste the same anymore. This is essentially Farmageddon, spraying stuff. Everything's poisonous. I just got back from Switzerland and the food was delicious. So yes, you are not, it's not real or imagined, and your daughter is in fact based. I bet she downloaded Red Note. It's Archie writes, at this point, I feel like I've grown into a person that's not even a conspiracy theorist. I feel like I'm a, quote, things aren't adding up, and it's super noticeablest. Same. And this person writes, I truly think Justin Bieber is the informant on the whole Diddy situation. I could not agree more with you. I think he's probably not even allowed to speak. He's not allowed to speak about anything. I would imagine, hopefully he does. I hope he finds his voice. And he's already shown that he's willing to walk away from money. Sold his entire catalog. That's the first step. Kanye did the same thing. He said, take it, take the Adidas, take everything. I want out. I want out. He's been taking the media blows. And listen, nobody really does it quite like Kanye, nor should they, nor am I advising that they do. Kanye will literally burn a pile of cash to make a point. But, you know, there are lessons in all of it. And I really do think that it's bravery. We are seeing a lot of bravery. And like I said, we are witnessing the fall of Hollywood Babylon, and that's a good thing. All right, you guys, if you would like to support this show, you know where I'm going to tell you to head to Locals. We are independent. We are demonetized. Too much truth to be handled. You can head to Candace.locals.com and give whatever you can monthly to support the show. We deeply appreciate it. It makes it so that we don't have to worry so much about how we are going to fund the show when this happens. And other than that, guys, we will see you tomorrow.